Hey, good morning, everybody. Nate Ivy with you. Walking that tightrope between profane and profound, back to rock. I'm your humble host. If you want to transform your brainwaves into internet talk radio waves, or maybe we'll say digital radio waves, I'll think about it. 513-873-7134. It is a beautiful Friday. We made it. And I want to chop it up with you. 5 things that I want everyone to remember from this week. 5 things that I want everyone to remember from this week. We'll discuss that. At 8:30 a.m., we've got a school board candidate that is scheduled to give us a call at about 8:30 a.m. this morning. She is running for Cincinnati School Board, and she is a non-incumbent. And we'll catch it up. We'll catch up and talk with Marlena Brookfield at 8:30 a.m. this morning. Oh, yeah. Shout out to you, brother. I appreciate it. I did receive that. Yeah. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Sorry about that. Good morning. Some folks might be sleepy. You stayed up last night playing, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, the brand new one just came out. And shout out to Ray. I saw Ray yesterday. I met her to give her some tickets that she won. It's good to see her for a minute. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's currently 8:09 a.m. this morning. I feel great. Looking forward to the weekend. A lot of spectacular things going on. Just got the word I'll be recording another fabulous podcast episode of an exciting new podcast on Sunday afternoon. So I'm looking forward to that. And some family time. But along the way, listen, we got a lot of room to cover between now and coming up to about 10 a.m. Now, later today at 12:30, please check out the Is It Just Me podcast with Donnie B. Donnie B wants to know, is it just her, or are we now redefining what it means to gender? Are we redefining it right before our very eyes? We will discuss. I want to talk about Pete Buttigieg. I want to talk about the fact that an Arizona police officer has been fired. Do you remember we talked about this? It was an Arizona police officer. This made national news. It went viral because it was so ridiculous. Remember this earlier in the year? Arizona police officers, they got a call from a Family Dollar, and apparently there was a black couple, and the little girl had stolen a Family Dollar rag. It was like a doll. So the doll's no more than $5, probably $8, because it's called Family Dollar. But not everything is $1 at Family Dollar. But everything's pretty cheap, right? Relatively. So somebody called about the doll. Now, number one, who calls about a doll? That was some Mitch itch right there. I ain't calling the police because I seen some little girl steal a $1 doll. I just put the dollar in the register and keep it moving, B. I don't give a damn what the policy says. I ain't doing it. I'm telling you, if I worked at Walmart, at Family Dollar, and I seen some little black girl walking out with a dollar store, little doll, or any kid, you think I'm calling the police about that? I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. I'll just take $1 or put $1 in the register or something like that. And we'll call it even Stevens. Now, the next time they come in here and I recognize them, I'm pulling to the side and say, look, last time, here's what happened with your daughter. I didn't say nothing, but watch it, because everybody's not like me. Now, that's what I would have done. What would you do in a situation like that? Speaking of situations, shout out to Tracy. I was thinking about her yesterday. Hope she's doing well. She's dealing with some busters on the damn job. Don't you hate that? Busters on the job, Gilligan's on the job, making your life more difficult. It's the world we live in. So somebody called the police. The police they're acting like they was arresting El Chapo. These guys were screaming, get out of the car. You know what this is? These are non-black officers who use these interactions with black citizens to push the boundaries of their training. Get out of the car. Like, you don't have to do all that, B. Over a $1 or $2 or $3 or $4 or $5 doll. And if you watch the video, there was some real heroes that were taking the videos. And they videotaped the entire exchange. I mean, I still don't understand why these officers were that mad. They were so mad. Guns pointed. It's nothing but a game to them. These are weak-ass men with guns. That's all that is. That's a weak man who gets some kind of thrill out of trying to see other people terrified. These are Mitches. You take that badge and gun from them, and they'll get their ass whooped. Whooped. But they got a badge and a gun. They tough now. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. They pulled the breast. It's family. Black family, kids, wife. She pregnant. Whole 9 yards. They going, get out of the car. Get out of the car. They lay him down on the asphalt over a $5 doll. Then the officer's like, when I tell you to effing do something, you better effing do it. That tells you right there, that's a weak man. Your wife don't listen to you. So now you're going to make this black man, he going to listen to you. But your wife don't even listen to you, right? You don't get no respect outside of you having that on. So now you got to go super tough with the black people. That's all that is. Weakness. Straight up weakness. But anyway, they pull the guy out. Here's what they do. And this is what got the officer in trouble. All that stuff didn't get him in trouble. What got him in trouble is that people videotaped him assaulting the guy. So this guy is face down, hands behind his back, with the handcuffs on, right? The officer snatches him up and then sweeps his leg and slams him back down. So he slams back down and falls back down on the asphalt. Now, why is an officer doing all of that? Why are you so upset, B? Why are you so angry? You know what I'm saying? What's the problem exactly? It's just a little man, no matter how tall he is, he's a little man in his heart who finally got some finally got some authority. Probably got punked out all the time in high school around men and other dudes, students, whatever. So now you grew up, you got your little gun, you got your little badge. You a big man now, right? Oh, you giving the orders now, right? Pathetic. Pathetic. Real power don't power trip. What you power tripping for? You in control? Chill out. So they go through all of this, arrest his family. The family's now suing from like $10 million, including $2.5 million per kid, which I love because Black Lives Matter. That's why, because they're worth it. Because their lives, their time, their civil liberties being taken away from them by some Conan barbaric cop matters. That's why. But the officer was fired. He's up out of here. Are we seeing a new day in America where officers can cross a line and it's like, oh, you went too far? Now, they did a whole review of this, and, I mean, it just is sad. In another case, another officer was fired. This officer rolls up on this guy who's mentally, let's say he's maybe got some disabilities or something like that, and the guy was sleeping in his car. Officer, this is a white guy. So I keep telling you, white people get it too. White people get it too. I've seen them get slammed around, tasered, sitting in your car talking about, I don't answer questions. They smash the window, snatch your ass over the glass. But black folks get it worse because it's the tip of the spear. Some of these non-black officers that usually do not live in the jurisdictions that they patrol bring these nasty attitudes into the neighborhoods. Here locally in Cincinnati, people had to get at, the police union chief because, it came out that he was kind of setting that same mentality here in the city of Cincinnati. Like, oh, going into Avondale is like going under deep cover. No. See, now you getting these officers all militaristic and you getting them all juiced up that they're going into a war zone. No, you're going into a neighborhood. It's not a war zone, it's a neighborhood. But so in this other case, the officer comes up on this man that was asleep and he was waiting for somebody to come out and pick somebody up or something like that. The officer goes from 0 to 100 just like that. I mean, it's very clear that God doesn't really understand, but one of these smirky ass Ray Tensing types who, again, was weak. I could see in Ray Tensing's eyes, he was born weak. That's what it is. But they get a little badge, and now they want to be all tough on the streets because they know that the courts and the legal system is stacked in their favor. If that's not the definition of weakness, what is? If taking advantage of people and using the power given to you by the people and the state and the local authorities to police the streets, and you want to abuse that because you got some problems in your house and, you're about to get divorced or, whatever the hell the case may be. You used to get beat up a lot in gym or whatever the case may be. And now you want to take this out on innocent bystanders? That is the most pathetic thing ever. Don't you agree? Pathetic. So anyway, he ends up dragging this man out and hitting him with a taser. Yeah, he tasered him, but then he also beat the man over the head with the damn taser, opening up lacerations. The guy had to get a couple staples in his head, and he got fired as well. And the reason why he got fired is because he was beating the guy over the head with the taser. It was some old defenseless dude who, obviously, maybe has some cognitive or whatever it may be, disabilities. Got his ass whooped, got dragged out. White dude got dragged out. Tell you, man, anything in America. But back to the case in Arizona, I'm glad to hear that. I hope that the officer remains fired. I hope that the officer remains fired. That was Phoenix. And it never really had to go down like that. And basically, they were terrorizing these black couple. It was terrorizing them over something small. Ultimately, it wasn't that big deal. It wasn't a big deal. And they're going super hard. Like I said, like they're dealing with Al Chapo. Oh, we got Al Chapo. Al Chapo's son. Something like that. No, this is just a black couple at Family Dollar. And they didn't know that the kid had stolen the dollar thing. Like I said, that's happened to me and Little Buddha. At least once, I can't remember, she was younger. We're walking out, and I look in her hand, she got something in her hand. I didn't even know. As soon as I got it, we turned around, took it back in. I'm like, nah, girl, you can't do that. She didn't know. She's a child. Kids do that kind of stuff. The officer's name was Christopher Meyer. That's his name. He lost his job, but he really should be charged. Why don't officers get charged for assault? Like if you go up to somebody and just slam them, then pick them up, and then sweep their leg and slam them again, people will call that assault. And if an officer supersedes his responsibilities and his training, isn't everything outside of that criminal at that point? That ain't legal. That's not legal. They recently had a press conference outside of the Phoenix City Hall. And they talked about this egomaniacal cop who got so incensed that a little black girl had taken a baby doll from a Family Dollar. Is that the kind of person you would trust on the streets? Not me. You should have saw he had the gun was drawn on these people. You better not move. You know why? Because you got to teach black people a lesson, right? You got to go super hard at them because they're incorrigible. So if we just told them and said it nicely, they just wouldn't get it. Got to get through black people's thick skulls. Got to break that criminal nature they have, right? Tell me, this is crazy, yo. It can happen to you. Some of you folks may have children, maybe have grandchildren. You walk into a Family Dollar, you didn't know your grandbaby had walked out with whatever. She got a supersized Snicker bar. It's a whole $2. Damn. You didn't know. Should they call the FBI? Get out the black helicopters. Scramble the National Guard. Because, something's not right. Now, before we get too deep in the show, I want to say my apologies to my man, John. John was trying to call into the show several times yesterday, and it just wasn't working out. And I just wanted to say that, John, you're more than welcome, brother. I want to man, hopefully no hurt feelings or anything like that. But what do you think? What is on your mind this morning? 513-873-7134. Let me go to the phones and see who's on the line. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Cincinnati Public School Board.
I'm sorry. Who is this again? Marlena?
Marlena Brookfield.
Hey, Marlena. How you doing?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing great. I was expecting you in about 8 minutes, but we can start now.
Oh, I can. Well, whatever you need to do, I can call back or.
Listen, you're on the line now, so let's continue with the conversation. Well, listen, thank you for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. So, just to tell you about myself, I do a daily digital show. I've been doing it for several years. It's totally based online, hence the term digital. And we get together every morning between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. and we chop it up. We talk local issues, national issues, and we like to talk about and focus on what's happening, with the local election. So it's my endeavor, and I've had at least 2 or 3 members of school board already, but it's my endeavor to get everybody on so that people can take all the information and make the best possible decision. So just to let you know. And then also perhaps, yeah, perhaps sometime you can jump inside of our chat room. We call it the Chop Shop because we chop up the issues. There's a lot of smart people in there that talk about the issues. You can interact and things. So let's get started. I mean, tell us about yourself, Marlena. Are you from Cincinnati?
I am. I was born and raised here.
What part? Where'd you graduate? You know what the question is, right?
Oh yeah. So I grew up on the west side of town over in Cheviot, and I went to Westwood Elementary School. And to answer the Cincinnati question of where I went to high school, I am a proud graduate of Westerns High School.
All right, cool. So let's talk about school board. You're running for school board. Is this your first time running for school board? And why are you running?
So it's first time running for any public office ever, and the real answer why I'm running started with the 2016 election and seeing something happen that most of us thought was not possible, seeing a person get elected to the highest office in the country who publicly said and has done just not horrific, but horrendous things, who thinks it's okay to mock people with disabilities, who thinks it's okay to treat women as objects, who thinks it's okay to be racist. This should not have happened, and it really spurred me to get up and as I would vote in every single election, and I would go out and volunteer every so often, but this was the thing that really let me know, okay, I have not been doing enough. What can I do to really make sure we get this shit back on track? And until the point that I got a text, it was a mass text, so it wasn't just sent to me, but they were trying to find people to, would you be interested in running for office? And right till the moment I said yes, that had never been something that crossed my mind. So after I said yes, thinking, oh my God, what did I just do? I thought about it a little more, and as a product of Cincinnati Public Schools, it seemed to me like all the areas that I have a passion for politically, all the issues that matter to me, education kind of ties them all together. And if I want to make changes for a better future, it makes sense that I would work on behalf of the children because they will be that future.
Speaking with Marlena Brookfield. All right, Marlena. So as a first timer, give me your thoughts on the whole process of running for elective office. What has that been like for you? What have you learned? What has surprised you?
I feel like there needs to. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what has surprised you? And also, I know that didn't you go to, it's a newly formed, organization that provides sort of like a school for Cincinnati School Board candidates. Did you go to that?
Yeah, I actually got to be in the first class of school board school. It's Elisa Hoffman, a former CPS board member. She put this together, and we had 12 people in the first class. There's second class has already started. They're doing the same things, learning everything, all the ins and outs of school board, what the issues are, the politics. It was a really great experience because as much as I knew about big issues in public education and how our district functions, as much as I knew going in, there was so much more that I learned that really helped me understand more of why I need to do this and how I need to navigate all the bureaucracy and what are things that might be barriers to making progress for the kids.
What do you think, like, the number one thing that you learned from that school, which I think is a really interesting idea?
The biggest thing was conversation we had at our very first session, and it should not have been a surprise, but it was, and that is, what are the qualifications to run for a school board? And it turns out there are none. You don't need to know anything about education or children to run for school board or serve on school board. And to me, that's terrifying because you could potentially have people up there who don't know the first thing about how to properly address issues in education, such as, what are barriers that children experience to learning? What are the things going on in the classroom and outside that affect how well they perform in school? And just thinking of somebody could be there and not necessarily even care about the well-being of children, that frightens me, because I have a daughter that's currently a CPS student, and I don't want to think about somebody that doesn't have her best interest or her friend's best interest at heart.
Do you mind saying what school she attends, your daughter?
Sure. She's at Dater High School over on the west side.
Okay. So how is Dater performing in the latest Ohio Education Report Card?
According to the report card, we are not doing well. There are a lot of things going on at Dater that I'm not happy with, but there are a lot of things that show a lot of promise, and I'm really excited to be part of that and be part of turning it around, because we've got great students there. And you may hear this isn't just at Dater, but you hear a lot of stuff about, these are just, they're bad kids, they're up to no good, they're just going to school to have a place to go, they don't teach them, they just babysit. Well, you don't go there to find out what's actually happening. You don't see all the good stuff that they do. And frankly, a lot of the people who want to be so negative about our students have never even tried to get to know them or tried to be part of the solution. And I can't stand by and let that happen.
And what grade is your daughter in?
She's a junior this year.
She's a junior. Okay. So if you're elected to school board, then you'll be on the board for the rest of her. So when would you actually take office if you are elected? Will it be immediately?
So I know that they have a swearing in January. The terms for the full 4-year seats expire at the end of this year.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if there's any kind of onboarding prior to the public swearing in.
Okay.
That's what I know.
Okay, so which leads to another question. And really, maybe we should have started here, and that is, which seat are you running for? Because of course, there's like almost 2 races going on, right? One is for the seat that's currently held by Pam Bowers, and the other seats are up with the other members of the school board. So where are you in that? Which seat are you running for?
I'm running for one of the 4-year full-term seats.
Okay. So was that a conscious decision? Why did you not go for the other seat? Was that strategic, or what was your thought process in that?
I filed my candidacy at the end of August in 2018. So at that point, Pam hadn't even been appointed to the board. So the whole separate race for the unexpired term, that wasn't even a thing.
Right.
But I knew going in, I was in this go big or go home.
Yeah.
I'm going for a full term. And I think even if Pam had been appointed, I want her to be reelected. She's a voice that we need on the board. So I wouldn't run against her. She's a fellow West Sider. So I want to be part of kind of long-lasting changes. So it was always, I'm going to go for a full 4-year term.
So if you win, you'll be replacing someone. Is that correct?
Correct.
So who do you think currently on the board right now is like the opposite of Pat Bowers? Like you think doesn't need to be on the board anymore?
Oh, that's right to the heart of it. Um, I've been disappointed with a lot of things that I've seen in board meetings, because what I see in committee meetings where it's not behind closed doors, but they're not very well attended. What I see them saying there versus what I see them saying in the full board meetings that are live streamed, it's sometimes two different things. And I don't I don't really like the dishonesty. Um, there's just a whole lot of things that we need to be doing better. And if I'm being totally honest, um,
Yeah,
we
feel
have
free
a
to keep it
board
real.
member. Sorry, go ahead.
Saying yeah, feel free to keep it real.
Um, we've got a board member who's running for reelection, and it would be her fourth term if she got reelected. And me personally, I think that all public offices should have term limits, because it's one thing to say you have institutional knowledge, but sometimes you can get that stuck in your head as, it's trapped in a certain time period, and you don't start adapting to new information. You think, oh, well, this is just how it's always been done. But is that how it's working? Is that what's working for people? Maybe it's time to rethink how things have always been done. So if I'm being totally real, Eve Bolton's gotta find something else to do. She needs to get a hobby and maybe run for a different office, but I don't think she should get a fourth term.
Now, is she the only one who you feel that way about?
Um,
Just keep it real.
no, I personally support Carolyn Jones. She is the current board president. She's very honest. She keeps everything on an even keel, or tries her best to. Um, but I know that she's really got her heart in this for the right reasons. We've had conversations before, and she says, I'm not a politician, but I guess since I am running for public office, I am one, but she's not into the politics of it. She's doing this because she wants to make improvements for children, for education, and for her, it's not about, what can I get for myself? What kind of deals can I strike with other politicians, or, get my cut of whatever. And there's too much of that going on with this race.
Okay. So your target is you're hoping to target Eve Bolton.
Yeah, it's a field race, so it's not
Right.
like
It's not that you can really target somebody, but that's the weakest link
Yeah.
that you see right now on the board. Let me ask you this: what is your education back? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I want to cut you off.
I wouldn't say she's the weakest link, because she does have a lot of support. She's been involved in local politics for a long time, and that's fine. But what I've seen from the past couple years of, I pretty religiously attend school board meetings, and there's
Which I
a
respect.
lot of disconnect. Thank you. Just a lot of disconnect between what, the public face, and then when people think they're not being listened to or not being watched, and that's not okay with me.
All right. Someone wants to know who is endorsing you. Who's endorsing you, Marlena?
That's a very good question. The very first endorsement I got was from an organization called Ohio Students for Gun Legislation. They are youth-led. They're about common sense gun legislation, because we've had all these mass shootings across the country. We've had children being murdered in their schools, and as a parent, I don't ever want to get that call that somebody was at my daughter's school, and that this is something that is happening right now that's a whole other conversation about how kids are able to even get dangerous weapons into schools. But
Yeah, it's so
I
funny you say
support.
that. I'm sorry because it's also you find. I recently had a conversation with my daughter about that, but I want you to finish your endorsements and I'll circle back around.
Okay, sounds good. I was proud to get their endorsement because, like them, I support common sense gun legislation, things like universal background checks, red flag laws. It's not about people trying to come and take your guns away. It's about preventing people who are irresponsible or have criminal intentions from purchasing dangerous weapons. And with the schools, my take is that no one should be allowed to enter a school building with firearms unless they are a licensed, trained, on-duty law enforcement official. Other endorsements that I've gotten are Cincinnati Women's Political Caucus, Our Progressive Future, Cincinnati Indivisible. Brian Gary, who's run for city council, will be running again in 2021. He's given me his personal endorsement. A gentleman in Rochester, New York, he ran for school board up there, Robert Kyle Hoggard, gave me his endorsement, which I was very excited to have. And Democracy for America, if you, our own Yvette Simpson, ran for mayor 2017. She is the CEO of this national organization, and I was very excited to get their endorsement.
Oh yeah, we know Yvette. She was on maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Yeah, we know Yvette.
She's
We support
awesome.
Yvette Simpson. That's great. That's great to hear. Any other endorsements?
There's a local group called Bold New Democracy. They started as a work group for Aftab Puraval's campaign for Congress, and the energy they had after the 2018 election, they just kept it going and are promoting local causes, local candidates, and this year with the school board race and the judges also, they've endorsed or are supporting the Democratic slate of municipal court judges. But in the school board race, they recently gave me their endorsement, and as someone who I feel like a lot of the people in that group, we've been co-activists, we've acted, they've been mentors, they've shared wisdom with me, and I was just so humbled and honored to get this endorsement. I'm glad to have their support so that we can work together and make a bold new democracy.
Sounds interesting. Okay. So Marlena, what is your education background? Because earlier you were talking about, just your shock to the fact that there really wasn't a whole lot of qualifications to run for school board. So there's the question, what is your background?
So like I said, I graduated from West High, and I went to University of Cincinnati and got my bachelor's in linguistics. Usually people want to hear, have you been a teacher? What's your background specifically in education? That I don't have, but I was once a CPS student, and I haven't forgotten what that experience was like. And now I'm a parent, a very active and engaged parent. So seeing from that angle what's going on, what are we doing well, but also what can we be doing better, that's my experience. That's what counts to me.
Do you think that's enough? I mean, obviously you do, but people judging it, looking at it, thinking like, well, maybe someone runs for school board should have more of a closer relationship to an actual classroom. Have you volunteered for CPS or did any work inside of a CPS school building?
Oh, yes. So I have served on the local school decision-making committee at Dater High School. I also help facilitate an LGBTQ plus alliance at my daughter's school. And this is our third year in existence on campus. And we've actually had a lot of successes in trying to get more inclusion and more welcoming environments for our students who identify as LGBTQ. So the kids know who I am, staff know who I am. I am at the Ed Center part-time. I think I live there sometimes. You can't go up there and ask, oh, who's that purple-haired lady? They know who I am. So I'm a known figure throughout the district.
Okay. So have you volunteered outside of Dade, or have you volunteered or did any work in any other schools
Yes.
besides CPS?
Yes.
Really? Where and what did you do? I'm curious.
So one day I had volunteered at Roll Hill, and so they needed people to make phone calls to invite families to a parent meeting. And I said, okay, I've got some free time. I can make phone calls. What else? It's been a couple years, so I'm probably not going to remember all of it. But
That's fine.
I've always offered to, hey, if you need some extra hands, just let me know. It's not about making a big show of, oh, look what I did. It's, do you need some help? Because I've got some time, and I just want to see good things for our schools.
Okay. Here's a question from the audience. What is your plan for special education kids to not be left behind?
Oh, I love this question. So the first thing that I want to say is that Title I and IDEA, those are federal mandates that have never been fully funded. And our special education students have been losing out on critical resources for decades. That needs to stop. Unfortunately, as a school board member, I don't have the power to tell Congress what to do, but I'm letting you know that is a problem. We've been underfunded to the tune of billions of dollars that should have gone to our special education students. I know that a lot of parents, when I've been out talking to folks, have said they've had issues with their child's IEP. They're concerned about, accessibility for students. We have a school building that is not even ADA compliant. How do we have a school building that's not ADA compliant? And we had the facilities master plan that went and built all these new buildings, did renovations. What happened there? We're not doing justice to all of our students, especially our special education ones. And to me, it's our responsibility. We are required by law to educate all students in our buildings to the best of our ability. And I know that we've got teachers working really, really hard who've dedicated their lives, their hearts, their souls into teaching some of our most vulnerable populations of students. And when you don't have the resources to do it, what you can't do with what you don't have. So we need to make sure we're fighting for the resources, but also parents need to know what their rights are regarding seeking redress if they feel like their child's needs aren't being addressed. They need to know who they can go to say, hey, what's going on? What can you do to make this better?
Speaking with Marlena Brookfield, she's running for Cincinnati School Board. That election is coming up in just a couple of weeks. And take all this information and make the best possible decision for yourself. As you were speaking, Marlena, a thought that came through my mind. So there's politics in everything, right? And I'm wondering, like, if you're elected to school board, what kind of school board member will you be? Are you going to be willing to stand up and go against the grain of the party politics or the business community? So, for instance, here's one question I want to know. Like, if you were on the school board, would you have voted for the FC Cincinnati deal?
I love this question. I absolutely would not have voted for the FC deal. And I spoke at several school board meetings voicing my opposition to it. Those meetings were live streamed, so there is video if you need to double check. I could not support that. I couldn't go to all these meetings and hear what members of the community were saying and know what I know about our city's history with displacing people of color. it's not right. How are you gonna put a professional Major League Soccer stadium right in the backyard of a high school and think that it's not going to cause all kinds of issues and disruption? That's just crazy. The point of, will I be able to stand, or will I stand up when there are political machinations or things from the business community going on? This is about more than politics. This is about the children and their future. And the board talks a lot about, well, we vote as one. We're a unified force. That's cool, but in the bylaws for the school board, it even says, you vote your view. So if I disagree with something, I'm going to vote my view. If I end up being in the minority, that's just how it goes. I will defer to the will of the board, but up until the point that the full board's decision is made, I'm going to vote my views. I'm going to support what I support, and it's about the children at the end of the day and nothing else.
You said up to when the vote is made. What does that mean? So when the vote is made, it might be different, or I'm not sure. Maybe I heard that differently.
So just for example, like with the FC Cincinnati vote, which they said was a unanimous vote, it wasn't, because Ryan Messer was not there the day that the vote was taken, so it was not a unanimous vote. But if I had been there, I would have voted no. I would have said no. I would have been outvoted, and the decision would have carried to go ahead with this deal.
Right.
And at that point there was nothing more I could do, but I voted against it, and to that point, my conscience would have been okay, but I would not have been happy with the decision, but I wouldn't be able to do anything after the board has voted.
Well, I'm glad we're getting a chance to talk, because the first time that I was ever even aware, and tell me how people have responded to your campaign flyers, which is sort of a white background and it's got the colorful hair. I'll be honest with you, my wife and I were driving. It was midday. I think we were on Reading Road, and I saw that, and we both looked at each other and was like, hell no, she ain't getting our vote. And I think it was because initially I looked at it as, I don't know why, it just seemed like you were kind of trivializing it all, right? Just to get a little bit of attention. That was my quick, I can be very cynical, but that was my quick driving by at whatever the speed limit in that part of Reading Road is. How have people responded to that? Because you got the purple hair thing. That's a little different for Cincinnati.
Yeah, no, I've heard that question a lot. And so me personally, I like to dye my hair. I like to, I'm a creative person. And this is just me. I figured, okay, if this person in the White House can get there and all the things they've said and done, and they're still there, why can't I run for school board and win, being who I am, who's a person who dyes their hair? Because what you want in any elected official, you're voting for what's in their heart and their mind. You're voting for a person whose values and priorities most align with yours. So the purple hair, it's not a gimmick. Once the election's over, will I stay with purple hair? Who knows? But I needed something to make people stop and pay attention and then listen to what I have to say. Because you're not voting for a hair color. You're voting for what I say I stand for and what I want to do, and all the what we need to do for our children. And to me, it's bigger than hair color. But no, I've totally heard things about, well, why purple hair? I can't deal with that.
Well, and again, ultimately, if you win, I guess it would have worked, right? Like you said, I mean, it's done to draw attention. But I was being real with you. That was my initial, like, hell no. That was it's just something about it. And even right now, I think I've tried my best to try to explain it in what I said earlier. But I was curious as to whether it came up with other folks. How much does that matter to me personally? Well, it depends on whether that's some kind of manifestation of some other stuff you got going on that's bubbling to the top, and then you get on the school board and all comes out. I don't know. But I'm not going to make that assumption, although that could happen. But, ultimately, I think people are going to judge you. Like I said, I'm glad I get a chance to talk to you myself and kind of hear from you. So when you're out in the community, what are some of the top issues that people say they care about?
Biggest ones are that they don't feel like they're being heard. They don't feel like their child's issues are really being addressed. And what I see at board meetings is that folks who have the time, energy, and frankly luxury of being able to attend board meetings to make their voices heard, they're not necessarily the same people that have greater needs in their school communities. And I don't see a lot of action from the current board in trying to get out and actually talk to people, boots on the ground, to have that information, so that when they're at the decision-making table, they know as much as they can to make the best informed decisions. When you're doing this blanket policy making and saying, okay, all of our CPS schools need to do this, well, some of it, we have such a wide array of people, such diverse school communities. Blanket policy making doesn't address all of these various needs. And if you don't hear from people who are most affected by some of the decisions you're making and seeing how things being implemented, how it's not working, what can you do if you don't know about it?
Absolutely. Speaking with Marlena Brookfield, she's running for Cincinnati School Board. There's a lot of conversation going on in here about this. I'm trying to get people's questions and comments in. Somebody did make a comment about your purple hair. He said he feels like it's unprofessional and it'll turn some voters off. I can see that.
Yeah,
Is that something you think about?
I have thought about it, and that's perfectly fair. The only thing I would say is, that nowhere is it written that school board members or any elected officials have to have a certain hair color. And again, my hair color has nothing to do with how well I can perform as a school board member.
It doesn't. But what about the question about it being unprofessional? Do you think that it's unprofessional?
What I would respond is, who decides what's professional? And I would take it back to, we had with City Council, they just had that resolution or ordinance against discriminating against people for natural hairstyles. It's just hair.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with this, though, Marlena. Yeah, that's completely separate. Yeah, we don't want to go there. That's completely different.
Okay.
Yeah, this was a choice you made, and then you chose to make it a part of your campaign by putting it on your campaign posters, which means it's within the realm of power. And you know what? I think that's the word, unprofessional. I think as I was driving by, boom, we look over, and it's like, oh, hell no, that's too whatever. And again, maybe that's bad. Maybe I'm wrong for that, but I'm being honest. And I don't know. Because on one hand, you're saying it's not about the hair, but then you're putting the hair out there, making it an issue. So why not, instead of the hair, focus on some other qualities about yourself that are just as sparkling to the people?
No, that's fair.
Right.
Well, again, I went with this because it's me. It's authentically me. I'm a person who I like to dye my hair funny colors. And that's, it is going to turn people off. But there's a lot of other things I can't control for that might make people decide not to vote for me.
Yeah, but that you can. That you can control. That's totally your choice.
Yeah.
Somebody wants to know, and see, I'm not even aware it is. Somebody wants to know something about, here's Tracy writes, we have a woman running for school board whose campaign manager talks about effing people up. Did I miss something? What's going on here?
That's a good elaborate some more?
You know what? It's funny because there was something here earlier. Somebody wanted me to ask you something about something, I guess, that had happened online.
Okay.
Okay, I may have lost it here. I may have lost it. Listen, so you brought up, how you feel about your stance on the availability of guns and progressive gun law legislation, which I think is important to know any candidate's, mentality and their thought process on these big issues. But let me make it back to the Cincinnati school system. Do you think that our schools are safe? So my daughter attends a school that everybody says is like the best school. She attends Walnut Hills. And Walnut Hills has a lot of issues internally, which, again, there's a lot of good people trying to, I believe, address it, but they still need some pressure from the school board as well. I think if you get on the school board, of course, you got to deal with the lesser performing schools, but, every school building has issues that can be addressed. But she said something I thought was remarkable. So her school has metal detectors, and as you're going through, they actually will look inside your bag. But this morning she expressed to me her frustration because she said it's a waste of time. She said basically, they barely look inside the bag. It's just sort of like yeah, I did it, not really a thorough check. And then she said that there's a lot of times that people will go through the metal detectors, it'll go off. And then somebody will just say, is that a cell phone? Yeah, I got a cell phone. And they walk them through. And she's like, well, why are we going through the motions? And it doesn't keep you safe. She feels unsafe at her school. Are you aware of those issues? And if on the school board, what would be your plan or your mentality to address it?
I'm very aware of these issues. And there have been events recently at my daughter's school that speak to this. It's emotionally difficult for me because it is my daughter and her friends, but a loaded gun made it through metal detectors at our school. As a parent, I'm still reeling from the fact that somebody got through metal detectors at my daughter's school with a loaded gun. And thank God another student knew that this child had this and had a plan and was going to do something, told a teacher who actually listened and took them seriously and was able to prevent a tragedy from happening. But when I hear, how did they get through the metal detector? It's exactly like you just said. It went off, but they were busy trying to get other kids through the detectors, trying to get them off to class, and they didn't stop him. And that should terrify anybody who's worried about the children's safety. We've got measures in place for security, but if we're doing things like somebody's propping a door open so that they can run out to the car real quick and get something and come back in, sorry, but that's not keeping our children safe. Sometimes it takes hard work. You have to maybe go back around to the front door. It seems like little trivial stuff, but it comes down to you don't know who could be around school grounds. So many mental health issues are not being addressed well. You don't know what's going on in neighborhoods and communities. Anybody could be out there, not just people in the school. And it's a major safety issue that parents should be coming up to the school board and saying, hey, we're holding you accountable for the security here. How can you make it stronger so that our children are truly safe?
Well, absolutely, because what will happen is they'll say, how'd they get it through security? And they'll go back and review, and it'll come out what I just said, that if they're doing, it may take you longer to get into school, and that's what it's going to have to take. I mean, maybe we need to adjust the schedule in some manner to accommodate for having a proper security procedure for each and every student. Like as a parent, I'd rather my daughter be in line and they do a thorough check, just like going to the airport, than I would for them to do just a cursory check and somebody gets a weapon in who's got some real problems. Did you see that video most recently of the young man who was disarmed by he was like the track coach, and I guess he was gonna go on a shooting rampage, and then he ended up, hugging it out with the guy because the young man was caught up with his emotions and maybe some mental illness. That's a very serious
Oh
issue,
man.
and we always seem in Cincinnati to be too reactive. Let's be if any place that we should be proactive, I think should be with the Cincinnati Public Schools. Don't you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, we got to be proactive. So let's talk about the complexities of the district, which we know the majority are, students who are black. What is your perspective on why the district is not really serving its students, but its black students in particular? And if you're on the school board, what's your plan or your philosophy to address it?
I definitely see major disparities within our district. Um, so just as one example, my daughter went to a magnet school for elementary, and I guess I'm just a different kind of animal because we were in a school building with a lot of other students and families who looked like us racially, but we just we didn't feel so much like we belonged because of our economic differences. And that really kind of turned me off. So when it was time for her to choose a high school, she tested into Walnut Hills, but to me, I wanted her to be somewhere where she would have a little bit more support, a little more opportunity to develop relationships with teachers, and get support if she needed it. So Dater High School also has the special college preparatory programming if you pass the test, and it's so much closer to home. So we decided to send her there, not just for that, but also because we knew that school has a more diverse population, and I wanted her to go to a place where she would see people like these are people that you're going to see in our neighborhoods that you're going to interact with on a regular basis. And the best way to learn, how to interact with people who don't look like you, maybe don't dress like you, maybe don't even, speak the same language at home as you, whatever. It's to be there with them. If you have to see the same people over and over again, it's just easier to try and get along and understand each other. So we made a kind of an intentional decision to put her in a building that would have more of a diverse student population.
Okay. Well, okay. I can understand that. Why do you think that the district has been failing its students?
If I knew the answer to that one, we would have a whole lot more good stuff going on. So Cincinnati, we know, is one of the most segregated cities in the nation. And this has been a problem historically for a really long time where we've got, there were real estate, was it the covenants where, with redlining neighborhoods so that, people who were living in poverty, people who are black and brown, they aren't even sometimes shown properties in so-called white neighborhoods. And that still goes on, whether or not it's as overt or codified as it used to be. That sentiment, that's still there, and we see the effects of it. I mean, we're displacing folks from the West End, a predominantly black neighborhood, and we historically, when the highway came in, that displaced black families in these neighborhoods, and it's we're just carrying on this legacy of doing injustices to people who are, living in low income areas, people who are black and brown, and it's in our schools too. It needs to stop. Um, the system we have right now for our magnet schools, we switched from the campouts to a lottery, and I think that was a really good thing to do. If I had been on the board when that decision was made, I would have voted for it because the campouts just kind of furthered inequities in the system, allowing people who have that time and luxury to be able to wait outside for weeks at a time to get their child into school, they could do it. And a lot of the time, that's not our black and brown families. We needed to have a system that allowed people from all backgrounds the same kind of opportunities. Um, while there are other issues with the magnet system, that's another conversation. But I did support that. I will still support it. And I just want to see our neighborhood schools getting the same kind of attention, support, investment as some of our higher performing schools.
Do you think that we need more black teachers? And if so, that would have a positive impact in CPS and perhaps the performance evaluations that we see and we all hate?
I think it would. Because me personally, I know that having teachers that didn't look like me did make a big difference. And I was lucky to have teachers starting in kindergarten who were black. I had a teacher in fourth grade who was, she was from India, and having teachers that didn't look like me who could teach. When we talked about race issues in class, they had a perspective that I just hadn't thought about before. And you learn all this stuff in elementary school about the civil rights movement, and you're taught, oh, well, Martin Luther King came, and then things were peaceful, and race wasn't an issue anymore. But that's simply not the case. And having diverse teachers really can help teach white students about difference and acceptance. But I think it's also important that our black students see people who look like them in schools. I'm just going to say this, who aren't working as custodians or in the lunchroom. They need to see that, black people can be teachers. You can be teachers. You could be a school administrator. Just having models for, these are options open to you.
Yeah, we know. Trust us. We know. That's interesting. Very interesting response there. I'm looking at the chop shop here, seeing if people have any questions, and people have all kinds of stuff. Some folks don't like the fact I was asking about your hair. They feel like it's irrelevant. It's really about the person, but to each their own. I understand it. So, Marlena, when we got a lot of underperforming schools, in your assessment, how do you solve that as a school? How do you address it as a school board member? In some cases, you got schools that have been rated F or D for years. In your experience, what is the problem, and how can you address that from a school board member perspective?
So a lot of this, it's not simple answers, which I wish I could sum it up in just a couple sentences. The state report card that gets issued, I have a lot of problems with the metrics that they use to measure student progress or gap closing. I don't think they truly reflect when progress is being made. They're very punitive. For example, our special education students, we have until they're 21. We get to have them, or not 21. We get to have them until they're 22. But in terms of our 4-year graduation rates, their scores, their progress, even though they're granted more time, because they may have different needs for learning, their scores count against us, and you don't see anything about how their scores have been aggregated into the whole, or our students who are English language learners. Their score, after 2 years, their scores start counting against us, and we can't know if a student, say, from, like Nicaragua, if they're coming here and they've had a sixth grade education in Nicaragua, is that the same as a sixth grade education here? And on top of that, they may have a language barrier also, or they may not have been literate in their native language, and so they're having to learn literacy and a new language on top of it, in addition to anything else that may be going on in their lives, and that's just not taken into account. And we don't have enough support for all of our students before all these things start getting counted against us.
I'm speaking with Marlena Brookfield. See here, I'm going back through. See here. You got some supporters in here and some people that maybe don't support so much. Someone wants to know about, what do you think about the prison, the pipeline system in the school board? Or in the Cincinnati district, and what would you do to address it?
So that is not exclusive to CPS. This prison to pipeline. It's really sad that we've got the third grade reading guarantee. We have a third grade reading assessment, and people who build prisons, they look at those scores and from there determine how many prisons, how many cells are they going to build from children in third grade. They determine that. It's so critical that we're making sure our kids have all the skills they need, because they're starting to track them that young, saying, oh, okay, well, if you're not at a certain level of literacy in third grade, you're going to prison. You're going to end up in jail. And that's just, I don't even know what the right word is for it, but that's not okay. First of all, it goes into, why are we letting people make money off of prisons? But second of all, why are you tracking the kids like this? Why are you, kind of pigeonholing them into, okay, well, you can't read by now, you're just destined for a life of crime and the streets? Like, I don't buy that, and I don't think it's right.
Okay. That's interesting. Well, Marlena, is there anything that you want to leave with the audience as you make your way toward election day, and any last words you want to share with them as to why people should vote for you? And again, you're running for the full year term, which includes Carolyn Jones, Eve Bolton, who you express you're not too happy with her. You think she's perhaps the weakest link, perhaps, although you didn't like to use that. You didn't really say about Ozzie Davis. How do you feel about Ozzie Davis? Because for you to get on board, you would have to replace one of them, correct?
Correct.
Right. So that's a big ask for some folks who are more comfortable with them. And, two of them are African American, right? In addition, in a district that's majority African American, why should we vote for you over one of them, or even Eve Bolton?
No, that's a totally fair question. My feelings about Ozzie, and I hope I've expressed this to him personally, because I saw him when he first interviewed to be appointed to the board. And what I've seen since then is he's trying. He's trying to get the information so that he is making the best decisions, the most informed decisions when he's on the board. And he is a prominent member of the Avondale community. He's out there. He knows what's up. His voice is very important for the board. This matter of him not getting enough signatures, that makes me kind of, hey man, come on, I got my signatures, you can do it too. That's a whole other thing. But
so what's your
feelings about him?
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
You said that's a whole other thing. That's interesting. So elaborate. What are you saying here?
I feel like and this is just me personally, it has nothing to do with how I feel about him, or any of the other candidates. It just seems like I first decided I was going to run for this early in 2017, and because, oh, I've got purple hair, oh, I'm young, oh, I've never worked in education. It seems like the political powers that be locally kind of slept on it and thought, oh, well, she has no chance of winning because this, that, and the other. And I've been putting the hard work in to get out and talk to people and understand as much as I can so that I'm not just getting up there and spouting off at the mouth, so that I know I'm informed and can make the best decisions possible. That will not stop after Election Day. I'm not
Right.
going anywhere. I'm
But I
still
thought you
going to
started.
be
I
that
thought you were
mom.
talking about Ozzy, and now you're talking about some other stuff. When you first started, you were saying
Okay.
I'd asked you about Ozzy because that's what it comes
Okay.
down to, and then you brought up the fact that he didn't get enough signatures. So what are you saying?
The political powers that be kind of slept on this school board race. And so when I got my signatures in May, before all the other candidates, then it was suddenly, oh my God, I guess she was serious. And so there was a scramble for all the incumbents to get signatures turned in.
Right.
And I don't know what happened with Ozzy's case.
I don't either. I haven't spoken with him yet. I reached out to him.
Yeah.
Just so we can get an interview, and I will be asking him that. I think that's a fair question. But so you brought it up like, I mean, speak your mind. I mean, again, speak your mind. Keep it as real as possible.
Yeah. So I mean, I as soon as I filed my candidacy at the end of August in 2018, I started collecting signatures because I knew, I'm not. I guess I would say I'm a political outsider, so I knew it was going to take a lot of hard work on my part to get out there and make myself known. And I had a couple people helping me get signatures, but for the most part, that was all me. And I wish I knew what happened with Ozzy, if was somebody helping him and dropped the ball or what, because there's no reason that he should not have gotten those signatures.
You're saying it reflects poorly on him. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, if you want to put it like that,
I mean, you are running against him. I understand it. I'm sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you are running against these individuals. And like I said, I mean, you're asking us to replace them. So there must be some reason you're giving us why you would be more effective for the community and our overall goals than they have been. And, you're saying that this is something that people should maybe. So what are you saying people should do? Like,
I mean, there are instructions telling people, because he's a write-in, so there's instructions out there telling people how they can, vote for him as a write-in candidate. And that's, you like I would vote my conscience on the board. When you go to the ballot box, you got to vote your conscience. You got to vote for the person you think is best for you. And, whoever you think that is. My whole thing with Ozzy is that who dropped the ball on getting signatures for him? What's that about?
Have you ever said that to him directly?
No, not directly.
Yeah, I would start there if you're really serious about that. I mean, I plan on asking him because, it's come up. I don't think it's that difficult of a question. I'm sure he's already been asked that question. I'm not sure what the response is, but that's interesting. Like I said, I mean, there must be some distinction between you and them. Now, whatever happened with him and his write-in campaign, that necessarily doesn't reflect on, what kind of CPS board member you will be. But I understand. So you're saying Eve Bolton is long in the tooth and needs to go. You got a lot of respect for Carolyn Jones. And you're saying there's some question marks as to why Ozzy Davis has a write-in candidate. But that aside, how do you feel he's been as a member of the school board?
So he does put work in. He asks questions. If he doesn't understand something, he will ask questions for clarification so that he knows. And I really respect that, because a lot, what I see is some board members just want to either act like they know for appearance sake, or they think they know, and maybe they don't. But for him, he wants to be sure that he knows what's going on. So he asks for clarification so that he's not just saying something that doesn't make any sense or just whatever. And I really respect that he puts that work in.
Okay, I appreciate it. Somebody's saying I asked you a question about your campaign manager. Something must have happened. People are saying that you kind of dodged it, and we don't dodge here. I want to get every question in that people have here. So can you explain that? People are saying that should we associate the way your campaign manager did online to you?
So can they explain a little more what's going on?
So you're saying you're not aware of anything that happened online, maybe an outburst with your campaign manager, a rant as it's been called? Are you saying you're not aware of that?
So I have two co-managers, and one of them has a personal podcast that is in no way connected to the campaign. That's her thing. What she says on there does not reflect anything about how I feel or my stances. That is her personal podcast. That's her personal thing. I have never told her anything to say on there. I've heard things, people have said like, "Oh, she's really aggressive." I don't know, but that is not connected to the campaign. If I would say if anyone's got issues with that in particular, they should probably go to her directly. But I have not told her to put anything out about me, my campaign, from the campaign.
All right, that's fair. I mean, that's fair. But again, I'm a little late on it. I don't have the details, but as I'm piecing it together, people are saying that this is something they certainly wanted me to make sure that I asked you about. So you're saying that's her. Check with her, and back to the campaign, which I understand, and that's all fair. How do you support the levy? Do you think that the citizens, voters, should support the levy coming up?
I say yes, and I voted early, so I did vote for it. A lot of people are concerned, upset, mad even, that this used to be a 5-year renewal cycle for the levy, and now it's a 10-year. And they did bring that up. The school board did bring that up in some public meetings, but there wasn't a whole lot of public there to hear it. That's the past, but there could have been more done to kind of educate voters. Why is it now a 10-year? Because it kind of, on the surface, seems shady. Like, why is it 10-year now? And what happened there? It had to go through the county auditor's office to get approval to even get on the ballot. So that's their, I wasn't part of that discussion. But as this is strictly a renewal for the $65 million that, we're already paying this. It's not going to raise taxes. And if if this is not passed, that it's going to end up being cut. If it doesn't pass this first time around, it will go back to the ballot. There are a couple opportunities for it to pass before ultimately we don't have that $65 million anymore. But again, people should vote their conscience, and I can't blame them for being upset that all of a sudden, oh, this was 5-year, now it's 10-year. What's up with that?
Very interesting. Someone wants to know what are you looking to get out of being on the school board? What's in it for you? What do you want to accomplish if you're elected to the school board?
So, not doing this for the big bucks because it pays $5,000 a year. But my current, my job, quote unquote, right now is I'm a stay-at-home mom and a volunteer. So, on the one sense, I'm making $0 a year. $5,000 is a big difference from that. That would help pay some bills, but I'm not in this for the big bucks. I'm not in this for any kind of political gain because I have never wanted to run for office. So you can trust and believe you're not going to see me out there as, oh, vote for me for state rep now, vote for me for state senator. I don't want any part of that. As soon as I'll get a couple terms in on school board, and then I'm done. But I want someone to be there who will ask the tough questions, who will be holding my fellow board members accountable for their words and actions, for our policies. We need someone who will, in a sense, kind of be the gadfly to keep everything on track, keep everybody on the up and up.
All right. Well, let me just scan here, Marlena. I think that that's it. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Yep, and good luck.
You too. Thank you. Keep asking the tough questions.
Oh, most def. Every morning.
Awesome.
Take it easy.
Awesome.
Take it easy. That's Marlena Brookfield, everybody. And that went longer than I had anticipated. But I wanted to make sure we got enough time in to get a sense of who she is. And, okay, I'm just connecting here with Ozzy right now. He wants to talk on Tuesday. So looks like on Tuesday, we'll talk to Ozzy Davis. I may play this clip for him. I'm going to play the clip for him. So we can get his perspective because he run against her. So, I think it's all fair. And somebody's saying that, it was a major F up, with Ozzy and the signatures. I don't know the nature of it, but from the outside looking in, it appears that way. And it is what it is. But that's Marlena Brookfield. What do you think? Would you like to see her on the school board? Just let the conversation marinate wherever you warehouse these type of files in your head and let it marinate. Of course, you can circle back around if you want to get a second, double dip, a second listen and check it out. It'll be up as a podcast once we get off the air here within the next 31 minutes. Okay, good morning to you. And, of course, don't forget, check out the Is It Just Me podcast this Friday. That's today at 12:30 p.m. You can watch the stream. Good morning to you. Yeah, I don't know. When I say I don't know, it's just preamble. Nothing more than that, but let me see. I think that she is nice. She seems like a nice woman. I think that she's well-intentioned. I think that so I won't go through all of that. Let me talk about my issues. My issues is, just experience about how these schools actually work. How does a school work? I think that's critical to being on the school board, and I didn't really hear that. And she kind of brought it up like education and purple hair. Well, I wouldn't put those two in the same category. And I'm not saying, I think somebody said, well, you don't have to have big degrees. You're right about that. I'm not saying that every degree or it's about intelligence or anything like that. I'm just saying that, there are some degree fields where having experience through college and specific, teaching specific to the career you're going into is critical. And again, do we take the school board serious or not? If it's serious, then we take it serious and there's a high bar and there's a high standard. That might even include professional or unprofessional aesthetics. I know some people felt like that was trivial, but I was just being real with you. That's what happened. We were driving and, we looked over, I saw it. We looked at each other and just, hell no. We do that sometimes, right? Quick little check. And I think it was because we felt like it was unprofessional. I'm talking about the hair and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, people brought up some, maybe they was bringing up some good points. It was like, well, what's the difference? What if it was locks? Well, it's not locks. Real or unreal is something that people have had conversation about. And that's what I'm trying to, on some levels, that's what I'm trying to get to the essence of. I think that, in terms of her politics, me, I lean more to the left. So I think that it appears that her politics are more progressive, which I'm down with that. But I wonder if she really will have the strength to stand up because, in some cases, she was reluctant to even say people's names here on this podcast. So I'm like, look, if you get in there and you got to check Carolyn Jones, are you willing to do that? If you got to check her, if you got to check Ozzy to his face, are you willing to do that as a school board member? Because that's what you might have to do. So that's what I'm trying to say. This ain't no game. Do you have that kind of will? Because it's going to take strong-willed individuals. If you get on there, you all good intention, but you just going, you're going to wilt when the sunlight comes out, then it don't make a difference. It don't make a difference. You can have all the great intentions in the world. And I'm not saying that's how she is. I don't know that at all. That's the first time I've ever spoken with a woman. I don't know. I appreciate her time, but these are some of the thoughts that I had. And she said to E. Bolton, you got to go. You got to go. I'm going to play that for E. Bolton when I catch up with her and get E. Bolton's response. That should be hilarious. She says, you got to go, Eve. You got to roll. I've heard that about E. Bolton. I wonder I'm sure she's heard that about herself. It'll be interesting to see what she thinks. So this is just for you and for us, really, as we all make our best decisions. I think you should just take all the information that you can, process it, put it all together, and then make the best decision for you and your family. I'll tell you one thing, as we switch gears, man, Ben Lindy's really wants to be on the school board. I received a second mailer. I've gotten 2 mailers to my home on a school board race off election year. Think about that. Somebody really wants to be on the school board. Why? Why does Ben Lindy really want to be on the school board so badly? Where's the money coming from? These are some of the thoughts. These are big time decisions, man. This is not a game. This school board decision, people look at it like, oh, it's just school board until they have a critical decision on a multi-million-dollar project. Oh, then it's serious. It was always serious. And really, how much, here's another, let me pause, just sidebar for a second. How influential is the school board in bringing the change that we really want to see in our schools? I mean, it depends on the will of the individuals. Look at Trump. Trump said what he wants. He has incredible will. Oh, Constitution, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, what's that? Never heard of it. He'll just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And most people and most things will break. Just keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. Most things in Donald Trump's life breaks in his favor. Now he's the president. He's doing the same thing, sitting in the chief executive's office. There'll be lawsuits and all kinds of constitutional questions that'll be answered for years after he leaves office. Like all this emolument stuff, none of that stuff is going to mean nothing as long as he's in office. If he gets 4 more years, they're going to kick that stuff down the can because, it's impolite and, it's going to make his presidency more difficult. So don't expect that. But same thing with the school board members. You get a majority of people down there that have incredible will. They can get ish done if the school board is set up to really do that. You tell me. Angela, good to see you. She writes CPS, and then the next council election will give indication where the city is heading. I cannot say how much I agree with you enough. I have been saying it. The city is changing. Things are changing around the city, but we need to see, like she said, these next couple elections, 2020, county elections, they're going to be really interesting because the city of Cincinnati is changing. Like I said, there's a renaissance that's happening, and I think it could lead to a political renaissance as well here in the city of Cincinnati. People are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and the demographics of the city and the county are changing as well. Yeah, I mean, to the point where you could have situations where, and you can have a situation where, in some of these primaries, the real challenge could be between the 2 Democrats. Speaking of which, what's up with Gabe Davis? What's up with Gabe Davis and your boy? What's up? What's going on with that? We don't know. I don't know. I've been hearing some things. Be interesting to see what happens in that race. Is Fanon, is he going to close up shop and go to work with Gabe Davis? Say, listen, man, I'm going to get on your train. I'm going to get on the Gabe Davis train. Or is Gabe Davis going to fold up and say, you know what, I'm going to get on the Fernand Rucker train? Or will they say, bump that, I'm going to do my own thing? First one to the finish line. Be very interesting. Keep your eyes on that. I'm sure you will, and we'll talk about it. TNT writes, he's going to need it. Who is the last person who won any race as a write-in? I might have to take off work on election day just to work the polls to make sure certain ones get it in. Well, I'll tell you this much. If you really support OZ Davis, and I think that digitally, he's been doing, putting in efforts, to write in. But as she said, I mean, I don't know. You know what? I don't know the answer to that question, TNT, honestly. I can't say that in my near memory banks that I can open and access any files that readily will say yeah or no on that. But let me think here. It's going to be an uphill battle. It is. Now, will that open the door for Marlena? I don't know. We shall see. It's going to be interesting. But again, if Ozzy had the money, he could have the money and he had the manpower. He could put people at every election site, every precinct, which, that can be very influential as people walking in and out saying right in Ozzy Davis. So we'll see on that. I'm sure that if he does, then he will deploy those forces. See, I'm going to need to, I think I read that. Iris writes, it's amazing folks will accept her purple hair, but never asked her if she will accept natural hair, African American hair. And has she ever spoken out against the treatment of black children? I wish I had read that earlier. I would have got that in, Iris. Yeah, I did ask about the hair, and we did get a sense of, really quickly, a sense of, just her involvement in the schools and things like that. And I didn't hear a whole lot of it. I asked her some questions specific about, addressing the needs of the black community, and I didn't really hear a whole lot of sufficient answers. I thought that was quite evident, but that's me. I mean, you're asking me the question, I'll put it out there right here, right now. She might be listening, but that's how I feel about it. But tell me how you feel about it. Am I willing to judge somebody directly on her hair? No, I ain't saying that, but it's come up. I mean, that was honesty I gave you, and wherever it goes is wherever it goes. Some might say, okay, I get it. They'll process it the way it needs to. Another say, hey, maybe you should ask something else, but it is what it is. Let me go to the phones. Good morning. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Nathan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Pleasant sounding black man.
Yes, sir. That's what I am. I had a great breakfast once again. Another 2 scoops of raisins. Got my riboflavin and niacin up today.
I like it.
I'm gonna have to go with no on the candidate. Marlena. What's her name? Marlena what?
Brookfield.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to issue a hell no. 2 reasons. You arrive at whatever you want, on your own, but for me, purple hair on an adult running for an election is a sign of bad decision making. I don't want you making decisions on me or my kids' behalf. I don't care what anybody out there in the chop shop is saying. No, that's a sign of immaturity and bad decision making. You wouldn't run for city council with purple hair. So why does your appearance have to be, it's just like the security guard that got fired. You're an adult. You're not one of the kids. Quit trying to act like them. Grow the hell up before you ask for my vote. And 2, this was the first thing that turned me off on her. She said she was endorsed by some gun people. I forget the name of the organization, but there's some gun rights group, right?
I don't know the nature of them, but you are correct. She did mention that.
Yeah. Why the hell would you think it's cool to be endorsed by a gun group running for a school board? Because that gun group is going to tell you to push, let us arming your teachers on your second term if you run for it. Because you had the one guy on there on your show months ago, the black dude. He said he teaches a gun class and tried to get at Cincinnati Public, to try and, do something with their teachers on it. Remember him?
Yeah, that was Brother Johnson.
Okay,
Rufus Johnson.
He did do that. He did. I got the emails. He did approach the school board
Yeah, he
about
did.
that. Laura Mitchell turned him down instantly. Ain't that the superintendent's name?
Correct.
Yeah, she shot that down within a week. This was like last December, right around Christmas break. Like I said, I got the emails. She shot that down with the quickness. But if such a proposal comes from the school board, Laura Mitchell can't do anything because the school board is her boss. This lady's going to end up eventually pushing guns in the school for the teachers. Now, do we really want black boys and girls around guns? I mean, we see what happened 2 weeks ago with Tatiana.
That's an interesting theory, man. The only flaw is we need to research the nature of that gun group to make sure
She
that
said
that's
they were
something.
about gun rights for citizens and whatnot.
She did.
Taking your guns.
She did.
That's what it's about.
She did, but
So-
I think to be fair, we should double check just to make sure we know the nature of what they actually are doing and not just run with the headline, the name of it. Because sometimes it can be deceptive.
Let me ask you this. What does gun rights have to do with a public school, an urban school?
Your logical. I'm not challenging your logical conclusions and where you're going with it. I'm not challenging that. I see you and I concur. I'm just saying for us to really lock this all the way in, we need to know the nature of and double check the nature of this gun group before we run with this theory, which I like where you're going with it. I'm not challenging you.
That. I appreciate you being diligent and wanting to get to the bottom of it, but some things are automatic bars. Just like if you have a felony or an ill misdemeanor, as you used to call them, that's an automatic bar from certain jobs and even some social services. Same
Listen,
thing with
I'm texting
board.
Marlena right now. I'm gonna text her right now. I'm gonna text her right now and see if because she sent me a text. Hold on. What is? Thank you. She just sent me some well wishes about the show this morning. Thank you.
So she
can you tell me?
Otherwise, she would answer that question. My thing is
gun
this.
rights group that you mentioned.
There are certain automatic bars. Guns and an urban K-12 school do not go together. There's no reason for you to be running for a school board position backed by a gun group.
Okay. Again, I'm just telling you. I just sent her a text message, so perhaps she'll catch it this morning while we're still on the air, and then she can give me the name, and I'll go to the Google. I'll do the Google thing. And we'll go to the website and I can glean through and kind of read at least what they're putting on the outside. Maybe we can, penetrate, the surface a little bit and figure out if in fact what you're saying and what they do actually jive. Because if they don't, they could be a group that says we don't want guns in schools. I'm just
why are
saying.
you worried about them being stripped from citizens? I just don't. That's what I'm saying. The whole gun issue has no business in a school board race.
I feel you.
That's all I'm saying. And then you've got the purple hair, the bad decision making. Everything, just those two automatically disqualify her. Bye, next. I will holler at you at the next moon.
Oh, man, we got to rack him on that one. He says the purple hair is a disqualifier. He makes an excellent point. A point I was going to make myself. That you can't run for school board. I mean, I'm sorry, you wouldn't run for city council with purple hair because people wouldn't take you seriously. And I know it might seem trivial or whatever, but this could be like a first time running candidate kind of thing. I don't think the point of a campaign is to turn 30% of the people off. I think we want to rack him on both points. The point about the purple hair, he is 100% right, and everybody that don't think so is playing games. Y'all lying to her. Let me see. But the theory about the gun rights groups, hopefully we can get confirmation here. And I'll go to the website. And you're very welcome, Renee. What's up, Pam? What's up, Pam? You listening? Pam Rocker. Hey, good morning. Good morning, Jane. What's up, pretty kitty? What up, Harold? What's up, Albert? What up with you, man? Hey, good morning to you. Shouting out some of the, they roll every day, but they never come into the Title Chop Shop. Very rarely. Cam writes, I second that. Come on, let's be honest. Let's be real here. Let's not play any games. Now, that's just my opinion. That's maybe Fame's opinion. That's maybe somebody in the Chop Shop's opinion. But what's your opinion? I'd love to hear it. 513-873-7134. This is going to be interesting. Like I told you, Angela was talking about looking at the receipts. Oh, she is most certainly. We definitely going to check the receipts. We got to check the receipts on the school board. That tells you a lot of information in terms of who is providing the funding for these various school board members and what is their agenda. What is your agenda? We need to know. Interesting. See, Drop Rights, the CCW group that conducts the class is a gunrights.org. I think they are. Yeah, those brothers, man, after talking with the brothers over there at Ride or Die, those brothers, man, those brothers, this is what they do. It's a profession. They take it seriously. And between them, they got a lot of certifications. In fact, I love to talk with Joe. And he seems like a very interesting dude, man. He told us this story about him being in the Dominican Republic. I'm sure that's got to be a part of the ride, right? That's just like his go-to story, I'm sure, when they going through the CCW class. But it's interesting. It tells you something about Joe, and it also teaches you something at the same time. It's a very funny story. You got to make sure I want to get Joe on to talk about it, man, because he seems like a very interesting, unique guy, man. Very interesting guys. So even outside of the Chop Shop, let's say you want to do your own thing, I recommend them and, your family or whatever. I think they'll take care of you. But also, anytime you do anything with firearms, even though you got instructors, you always got to be alert. You even got to be alert with the instructors. So no offense to John Forte. They watching us. I'm watching them. Just making sure we all doing what we got to do, right? Because it's all about safety. And again, we have an opportunity, November the 17th. It's a Sunday. If you're interested, we'll be indoors. It's an all day affair, but it goes, I'm not sure how you are with all dayers, but you can get up and walk out whenever you want to. It's not that kind of thing. You ain't chained down. The facility was very nice and clean and modern. The seating was very comfortable. The accessibility to the restrooms was very easy. You have 2 restrooms. And of course you can do whatever you want to because you're a grown person. And so we go through the course, which includes, some conversation with them, obviously, and some videos, which are, man, let's just say close encounters, people just doing dumb stuff with firearms, and they're very lucky to still be alive. Hold on, I just got a Facebook message here. Hopefully we got it from Marlena. She says, it's the Ohio Students for Gun Legislation. Thank you. So let's go to the Ohio Students for Gun Legislation website right now. Thank you, Google. And see legislation. Thank you, Google. Oh, they got their Facebook page. Let's see what they're all about here. Let's see if we can confirm what. Let me see here. Interesting. It's okay, here it is. Let me read a little about them. Students for Gun Legislation is a completely student-run, nonpartisan group of like-minded individuals who are searching for common-sense gun laws through education, awareness, and organization. We believe that it is every American's and every human's right to feel safe. Okay. And Fame is saying that they're an organization that wants to arm teachers. Okay. Let me see if they got a website. Let's go to the website and see what they're all about. If in fact they have a website, which I'm sure they do. Ohio Students for Gun Legislation. That's what they're called. See, things I do for the community. Students for Gun. There we go. So we Googling. Here's a petition. Ohio students, here's a petition they want. Common sense for gun laws. They got it up on change.org. Let's see what they're all about on this take. Ohio State senators, a bill that would ban automatic and semi-automatic firearms capable of accepting me. I mean, I'm for that. I don't have a problem with that. See, fam, I think he was trying to run with something, man. I think he was trying to run with something and make an assessment about these folks. And, oh, okay, there's Marlena. There she is. And who knows? Like I said, despite what we say, she might get on the school board, purple hair and all, and be a G. You never know. You never know. And at this point, she could do other things. Like I said, just because you get on the school board don't mean you can't continue your education or career or start a career in education. Who knows? You can do all that kind of stuff if you got the time and you got the money. So again, I don't want to overly be biased toward her for trivial reasons. I don't want to do that. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Ivy. This is your West Side Connection, Drop Squad 52, out here on the left coast, People's Republic of California, and the home state of Congresswoman Katie Hill, the freak of the week.
What?
Mr. Ivy, have you heard or seen that story yet?
I think I vaguely remember the story of Katie Hill, and apparently she had a threesome kind of relationship with a staffer of hers, her husband, her, and this young female staffer. They had a sexual relationship for a little bit, and then they broke up, and then some new photos came out. Is that the Katie Hill story, man, you talking about?
Nate, it is way deeper than what you just talked about. It is a huge story, but because she's a Democrat from California, and we all know that the mainstream media are willing accomplice of the Democrat Party, this is not getting very much airplay. But out here in California, it's big. It was on Morning Talk Radio this morning.
Sure.
They're doing parodies, Nate. I mean, Nate, this is right up your alley. This is on the same line as the R. Kelly stuff, as the, all the other sexual stuff that you put on your show. I mean, I'm just saying for you to consider it. I mean, yeah, she's white.
So fill in the details. What are we missing? It's a Friday. Fill in the details. What are we missing?
Nate, okay, first, she was married to a guy, and they were swingers. Okay. And again, she's a young, blonde-haired white woman out here in California. She ran kind of like on the same lines as AOC in New York. So she knocked off some big-time person. I'm not even going to mention their name. But anyway, so her and her husband decided to have an open relationship. So they had a third person involved. So then, you know, Mr. Ivy, that when that happens, something's going to go wrong. And it went wrong, so they got divorced. But then, when she won and came to Washington, she hooked up with this woman. And I'm not going to get any deeper, but because, Nate, this is right up your alley. I mean, it's going to be around for a while because it's just really starting to scratch the surface, considering all the stuff that's going on in Washington, D.C. right now. But, I mean, Nate, you're a talk show host. I mean, it's a show prep. Make it part of your show next week. But it's way more to the story. And like I said, it's if it was black people, it would be on Breakfast Club. It'd be everywhere because of the sex and the politics. I'm telling you, Nate, it is a wild and crazy story. But that's not why I called, sir.
Okay.
The reason I called is yesterday, national news, every single outlet had no choice but to run this story. Headline: Justice Department opens up criminal investigation into the Russia probe. Now, Mr. Ivy, I did not see this in your show headline. I have not heard you mention it, but I will give you the benefit of the doubt because you had the candidate for the school board on most of the show. So, have you heard about this story, Mr. Ivy?
I have.
Can I ask you what you think of it? Because I know it's only 3 minutes before your show is over. So,
I think,
I
yeah, I mean, no. We're going to go a little longer. It's a Friday. Why not? And I'm glad you
okay.
asked that question. And the reason I didn't bring it up is because, well, no particular reason. I mean, it just didn't make the cut for whatever reason, right? As the day progresses, it just didn't make the cut of
Okay.
things that I decided to talk about. There was no other reason other than that. But even saying that, this is that BS Trump using the Justice Department to go after his political enemies. That's all this really is. Because for folks who don't know, the probe this is a probe by the U.S. Attorney General, William Barr, into the origins of the Russia investigation. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So this is just a political hit back, right? So this is
No,
Trump.
no, it's not.
Oh,
No,
that's
it's not,
exactly
man.
what it is. This was inspired by Trump's paranoid brain. He said as much publicly. He's been calling for somebody should be probing into the Russia probe. The reason why there was a probe into his Russian ties is because the people along the way was making some Gilligan moves. And it got back into American intelligence. Yeah. We already went over this, so we don't have to go through the origins of that already. But all I'm saying is this is really nothing for people to get. This is really nothing for people, in my opinion, to get too distracted by. Because this is Donald Trump. I'm 100,000% serious because this is Donald Trump trying to use the U.S. Attorney General and the Justice Department to go after his political enemies. Nothing more, sir.
Okay, Nate, this would be on the same scale as if after Richard Nixon resigned before he was impeached, he actually resigned, and then Gerald Ford decided to do an investigation of the Watergate investigation. That is huge story, Nate, because the only reason that it's huge is because the investigation, the origination of the investigation happened under Barack Obama's watch. This was during the campaign. So it wasn't like it was during that period where you transitioned from the old president to the new president. This was happening in the summer of 2016. So the fact that the Barack Obama's Justice Department, FBI, and intelligence organizations, CIA, NSA, all of these organizations, in order for them to do anything, Nate, at this scale involving a presidential campaign, Nate, it has to go through the president.
This is nothing more than a waste of taxpayer money as Donald Trump is trying to legitimize all that stuff he was talking about, the deep state and all that. This is nothing more than a fishing expedition to try to scare somebody, into confessing or just looking for anything that they can try to come back and try to make it seem like the Mueller investigation was really, it was really started for frivolous reason or political reasons. That's all this is, brother. And you falling for this, man? This is like the O.J. Simpson trial to you. I can hear in your voice. Investigation of the century.
Nate, I'm telling you, okay? I'm telling you. All I got to say is the fact that it's a criminal investigation, okay? That means that somebody is going to jail unless they snitch or they become a rat. Now, again, all I'm saying is it could be John Brennan. It could be James Clapper. It could be Susan Rice. It could be Loretta Lynch. It could be Peter Strzok. It could be Lisa Page. It could be Andrew McCabe. It could be James Comey. Okay? I know this won't touch Barack Obama, but just the fact that it happened under his administration. And then here's the kicker, Nate, why this is going to be a huge story, is Barack Obama's vice president at the time when all this was happening is the front runner for the Democrat Party for the 2020 presidential election. Now, Nate, come on, my brother. This is a huge story. Now, again, the mainstream media, they're going to do all they can to not cover it. The desperate Democrats are going to do all they can to distract. But all I'm saying, Nate, right now, going into November, a few weeks before the holidays, it is not looking good for the desperate Democrat Party. So I mean, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the ride, Nate, because everything, not everything, but a lot of things that I've said since this whole Mueller investigation started is starting to pan out. Now, I know Kev would have said, the overseer, Mr. Mason Mueller, they ain't got nothing to say because everything is playing out exactly. So, all I'm telling you, Mr. Ivy, at some point, you're going to have to cover this story, okay? But
I know.
The Katie Hill story.
I know. I know, because,
and you got to be fair.
Because not Bush, but Trump is going to waste a whole lot of taxpayer money sending, politicizing the Department of Justice. It's a fishing expedition. Man. To try to find any little detail, anything that you can try to turn, and then Republicans can get it and seize upon it and try to make it seem like the Mueller investigation never should have happened, and they're going to find somebody's text message. Here's what it is. They're going to find somebody's text messages, right? Some FBI agent, and he's tweeting about Trump being an idiot, and everybody knows Trump's an idiot.
Yes.
And then the senators are going to try to make that, oh, man, they said Trump's an idiot. They don't like him. It's politically motivated, right? Yeah, we've seen this movie before, man. Peter Strzok. All
I gotta say before I go,
they trying to find another Peter Strzok, right? FBI investigator. Yeah, I thought so. So why then don't call in trying to legitimize this BS?
I'm not, Nate. I'm just pointing out that a criminal investigation has begun. Okay, in America, you're innocent until proven guilty, but unlike desperate Democrats who say you're guilty until you prove yourself to be innocent, all I'm saying, Mr. Ivy, this is going to become a huge story because the desperate Democrats' fake impeachment inquiry is blowing up in their face right before our eyes, okay? The way they're talking now, Nate, and then you throw on top this criminal investigation into the Russia probe, it's clear that the probe was illegitimate, Nate, because it went from an internal administrative review of the process into a criminal investigation.
Wow.
That means grand juries.
Wow.
That means subpoenas.
Wow.
Nate,
that means it's serious,
Nate, I
right?
guarantee you, Nate, you watch the Sunday shows.
I'm not telling you.
Shows and
I've already seen this movie before, man. We know what's about to happen. We've seen this movie before. We did. Trump's already done this before. We know what's going to happen. They're looking for another Peter Strzok. They're looking to find some bureaucrat or some agent in some office that we don't even know what they do, who tweeted, or maybe he got reprimanded because he wrote on a piece of paper, Trump's an idiot, and the supervisor took note of it and made it and put it in his permanent file, and then they'll use that as a way to try to make it seem like Trump's a saint. He's a saint. The Democrats are just out to get him. So, I mean, we already know, man. That's why you cracking up, because you know I'm right.
Nate, I love your show, bro. I love your show, and I'm telling you, I'm just going to sit back in the cut, because, you know, all I do is walk while I'm retired. So I'm just going to sit back, and I'm going to observe all the backtracking, okay, all the naysayers, okay? All I'm saying, Nate, the fact that this criminal investigation has started at the time that it has started, it's almost going to be impossible for the mainstream media not to cover it. I mean, last night, most of the later shows, they waited till the very end to say, oh, just like you just said, oh, it's Trump and Barr, oh, they're just mad. But, Nate, I'm telling you, when that first person goes to that grand jury, and Nate, I'm just saying, I hope it's somebody big, but I got a feeling it's going to be somebody smaller, like you said, somebody sending a text message somewhere. But all it's going to prove, Nate, and all it's going to do is give Trump more ammo because he is the first gangster president.
See, there you go.
All he's going to do is say again, he's going to say again, I told you so. It was a witch hunt. So, before I go, Mr. Ivy, do you have a Gilligan of the week? Because my choice is the entire desperate Democrat Party. But I would like to hear, do you have any candidates?
Several. Two candidates come to mind, in no particular order. But Tank Tank for his comments this week talking about how you can perform oral sex at least twice and still not be gay. Come on now, Tank. Stop it immediately. Damn. That's hilarious, huh? I don't know if it was that funny.
I mean, he did have a new album. He did have a new album coming out, man.
Yeah.
So maybe he did it. Maybe he did it for the album.
Yeah, he did it for the album, man. That's a big market.
Okay, Mr. Ivy. It sounds like since it's your show, since it is your Gilligan of the Week, I will put something together, and it will be Tank. Tank will be the Gilligan of the Week on the Nathan Ivy Show, powered by Sin Digital Media. Be safe in number science to anyone who wants to catch it. Peace.
That's dropping out. Appreciate it. That black man, but I appreciate him though. Appreciate the love. Oh man, what just happened here? Call me right back. That was Glenn from Mason. I didn't know if you wanted to get on with him or I'm not sure. Man, that is not good. That is not good. Again, 513-873-7134. Among other things, Johnny's going to be talking about, where are we in terms of defining gender? The future of gender. And I'm going to tell you one thing that I just think is so weak is these trans athletes, right? Born a man or born a male. And then you end up, you come out as trans. So now you're living as a girl. And so now you want to dominate the state's girls track meet. I mean, come on. Does that make any sense? I don't think so. Is gender becoming completely eradicated? Or is it just me? Today at 12:30 p.m. Is It Just Me podcast with Donnie B. What are you doing at 12:30 p.m.? Are you at lunch? Are you in a place where you can prop the phone up? Hit your laptop or maybe your Surface Pro? Good morning, Glenn. Welcome to the show.
What's going on, Nate? Can you hear me, man?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, because it's Friday flow phase, and I got to get one for drop. Well, I'm not saying that everybody listening to me right now inside the chop shop doesn't know, but drop is full of shit. It's after, is it custom time? Yeah, it's after 8:30. He's full of crap, and based on his call today, Nate, I got to nominate Drop as the Gilligan of the Week. For him to sit here and suggest that this hasn't been probably the worst week since this investigation started into Ukraine and the membrane than it's ever been. The beginning of this week, Nate, you had the man that's in charge of the Ukraine mission, Ambassador Taylor, come in and corroborate everything that the whistleblower initially said. And this was the guy that was brought out of retirement by Mike Pompeo. Trump's guy. He's all these guys that are turning on Donald Trump right now are actually Republicans, mate. And what guys like Drop don't get, and I think a lot of people in the chop shop understand, but the female ambassador, and excuse me if I'm going to mangle her name, but I think it's like Yanka Monovich, or I know her first name is Masha. But anyway, you know what happened, Nate? This lady is a career lady that's been there. She's well respected, but guess what else she is? She's like some of the lady choppers. She don't play. And she wasn't willing to let her career go down the drain for Rudy Giuliani and his three stooges off some made-up bullshit that they heard on Fox News or they got off the Drudge Report and they tried to take her down. So guess what she did? She came out and testified about the truth. And guess what that did? That gave the impetus for everybody else in the Foreign Service Department that are also part of the Ukraine, that back in the day when they used to do things the right way and not the crooked way, mate, well, they started to come out. And every single one of the people that came and gave a deposition, they were sent a letter by the Trump administration basically telling them to cease and desist. Like, you can't go in front of Congress. And they completely ignored them and went ahead and testified for the truth. Isn't that everything that you've learned this week, Nate? Because that's what I saw. And I think Drop is a perfect example of a guy that, I call him the Mr. Snurtley of the chop shop, Drop Lizzo. But he's been getting misinformation. It's
Did you
like
say
they're living
drop
in a
Lizzo?
bubble all by themselves.
Did you
Yeah,
say
drop zone. That's what I call it. Drop zone.
That's funny.
Drop zone. I mean, I just can't. And then he talks about Katie Hill. You knew about Katie Hill. It's an illicit sex affair between her husband, a staffer, and her administration. She was one of the up and comers. Everybody liked her. She had a little swag, whatever. California type. They coming out strong against Donald Trump. And now they found her in an illicit sex affair with somebody in her campaign. But this is the thing, Nate. I thought we were past that. It wasn't that long ago where I thought it was okay to cheat on your wife with a porn star without wearing a rubber. But now all of a sudden, now we care about Katie Hill? Is that what we're doing now? Donnie B says, is it just me? My saying is, so that's what we're doing now. Because I thought we were past that, Nate. I thought we had passed that moral Rubicon. We jumped the shark on people having sex. Even the highest man in the office. And if you want to go into the Miss America team pageant and sit around in the locker room while these young girls change, it's okay. If you want to have your own party with 300 women, it's just Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, it's okay. If you want to pay off a porn star and it possibly be a campaign finance a violation, it's okay. So now Drop's trying to tell me he's all concerned about Katie Hill, and Nate, he can't wait for you to get on it, and the mainstream media might not talk about it. Get the you-know-what out of here, Drop. You are the Gilligan of the week, just based on your call today. You qualified. You got pliers, Drop. So you qualified off the get. It's like donating the organ. It's already signed on your driver's license, bro. So Nate, I got to get back in here. Happy Friday, everybody. But as I always end it, I hope in the end you get what I'm spitting. I'm out, bro.
Appreciate it. And of course, we have to rack him on that one. Man, interesting. Yeah, Drop was on one today. I can't tell you that it didn't cross my mind. It did cross my mind. But I thought, you know what? He's actually doing it, so he's disqualified. No matter what he says, he can't really be the Gilligan of the week because he does our Gilligan of the week graphics. So he can't be the Gilligan of the week. I mean, he can, but he can't, right? At the same time. But sustained. We'll say that phone call sustained. Good morning to you. Listen, have a great day. I got to make a move. Make sure I'm set up for the Is It Just Me podcast. Donnie B will be talking about the future of gender. What the hell is going on? Is it just me? Is gender becoming completely eradicated? What is she speaking of? Check out the show today. All right, have a great day, everybody, and we'll catch up real soon. And have an excellent day. I really appreciate you being here, and I'm out. Have a great day.